The worst feeling that studio owners have and will have is when you want someone out of your space and you can't have it. Hey there, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Conscious Counsel podcast with your host, Cory Sterling. That's me. I hope this finds you having an incredible week. In this week's episode, we are going to talk about the importance of having a sexual misconduct policy. This is something that I've seen a lot of clients struggle with recently. It's a piece that a lot of clients don't have in place, and they think that having the other documents together will have them covered in the event that something comes up, but it's not good enough. You need a specific sexual misconduct document policy, and I'm going to explain why. As always, my intention and the purpose of recording this podcast is to help you grow and protect your health and wellness business with confidence and clarity. That's the name of the game. You're out there, you're running your studio, you're running retreats, you're running your business. You're not stopping to think about the legal issues, and I get that. And that's why I take a couple of minutes each week to record information of things that you need to know and stories that really pop into my inbox. So before I get into the specifics of having a sexual misconduct disclaimer and document and why it's so important, I just want to explain one general legal concept, and that is just the ability to show that you acted reasonably. The test in law usually is reasonableness, and that means what would the average person do? What would a reasonable person do? And so when you're looking at documentation, or you're looking at an accident, or you're reviewing a waiver, or you're looking at the service agreement, or you had to release an employee and there's some contentious issue, the question's always going to be, what would a reasonable person have done? And did the person who's in trouble live up to that particular standard? So that's like, there are the laws, there are the rules that we have to follow, but the question's always going to be, how would a reasonable person behave? And the thing that's very interesting about the sexual misconduct piece that a lot of professionals are missing and a lot of studios don't have in place is that not having a sexual misconduct policy, with as important as it is now in society, in our industries, not having it means you're below reasonableness. You're not acting reasonably. If you're not explicitly addressing particular situations or issues that you know could be a problem, then the reality is that you're below the standard. And if, God forbid, there's some accident that happens at your studio, in your online community, in the space, on a retreat, and you maybe you could not have prevented the actual thing from taking place because it's very, very hard to control so many outcomes. But if you didn't at least have a written legal policy explaining what the rules are, what acceptable behavior is, and what is not acceptable behavior, then you're in trouble. And you can be in trouble, and someone can come up with a strong case about how you did not fulfill your duties as a health and wellness business owner because you did not have a policy in place. And so I just want to talk about a couple of stories. The reason why this topic is coming up now is I have a studio on the West Coast in California who had an issue with one of their clients last week where they wanted to kick the person out for being creepy and making other people feel uncomfortable. And their agreements didn't explicitly state anything, and they did not have a sexual misconduct policy, and we're still trying to get the person out. And the risk is you can kick them out, but if you don't have policies to show that they're breaking a rule, then, okay, their behavior is very, very subjective, and they can say that they're not harming or making anyone feel uncomfortable. And it's difficult. And I can tell you the worst feeling that studio owners have and will have is when you want someone out of your space and you can't have it. So this was coming up. Client told me the story. My first question was, okay, send me a copy of the sexual misconduct policy that you have. They didn't have anything. And then I was like, okay, well, we need to draft one. We need to post it, and everyone needs to agree to it. And so there are a couple of stories that I did in my research about this, just so that everyone understands that this is a real issue. So the first thing is that there was a studio in Connecticut who banned one of their members for behaving in an inappropriate way. They did not have a sexual misconduct policy. They weren't really able to prove that the person was doing the things they said they were doing. And they did not have a policy in place to show, hey, you broke the rules, and because you broke the rules, we're allowed to kick you out. So they didn't have those rules written in place. They heard something, they acted quickly, they banned the person. They ended up getting sued for $2 million in a discrimination case. So that's very real. That stuff happens. And again, the thing that you want for everything in your business is You want to have legal documentation, you want to have people sign it, and then in the event that there's an issue, you can really be able to deal with it and be in control of the situation. I always want my clients to be in control of the situation. The second issue took place. This is a story that comes from SoulCycle, not one of my clients. One of the instructors at SoulCycle went into the database of the clients and started texting some of the members or participants in class. And obviously, the people who received those messages were very, very upset. They didn't understand how their information got compromised, what happened. It got back to SoulCycle, and in the end, the company was liable. So if you have any form of studio, Pilates studio, yoga studio, whatever it is, and one of your instructors wants to privately message one of the members, and they do, and they make that person feel uncomfortable, and that person suffers damages, the business will be responsible for sure. That's something that happens. So these are examples of needing to have, hey, the sexual harassment misconduct policy should be in the contract agreement, should be in the employee agreement, should be in the membership agreement, should be in all of these different things to make sure that you're protected. Another story that I went through with a client had to do with a man who would come to hot yoga wearing very, let's say, revealing clothing that made everybody uncomfortable. And there wasn't a way, there was nothing written in the membership agreement to say, hey, if you dress like this, it makes other people uncomfortable, and we have a dress code, and, the shorts have to be a certain length. And I remember I worked about 2 weeks with the client on the issue, how to sensitively deal with it. And in the end, we revised their membership agreement. We included a sexual misconduct disclaimer policy, and then we got everyone to re-sign. And then the person came in wearing their clothes, and we said, hey, actually, you signed this agreement. It says that you're not allowed to do this. So as such, if you want to continue, you have to wear shorts or whatever the person was, they were able to control the situation. Other issues that sexual misconduct comes up, a lot of stuff with kids, you got to be really, really careful about, just making sure that kids are protected and, that people don't behave or say or do inappropriate things in and around children is a really important piece. And it's just about boundaries. And it's about letting people know, like, hey, saying these things is acceptable. Doing these sorts of things are unacceptable. If you do anything unacceptable, we have a 1-strike rule at our studio. You're out, you're done, you're not welcome, you're not going to be allowed to participate anymore. So in summary, I hope all of this makes sense. And this is a sexual misconduct policy / disclaimer is something that's really, really important, and it actually needs to live in all of the different relationships it has. If you think about your teachers and how they might make other people feel, you need to have a sexual misconduct policy there. If you think about members and how they treat other teachers or each other, you need to have it there. And it's absolutely imperative. Not having a sexual misconduct disclaimer or policy can make you negligible. And it shows that you're not acting in a reasonable manner and you're below the standard. And if you needed a wake-up call or a warning, this is it, because there will be a time in the future where you're going to want to kick someone out of your studio. There's going to be a time in the future where someone does something inappropriate or makes someone feel uncomfortable. And you want to be able to show to your clients, hey, we take this really seriously. And that's why these provisions are included in our documents, so that if the issue comes up, we can kick someone out right away and not have any issues around it. So if you find this information helpful, you can always reach out to us on Instagram at consciouscounsel. Drop us a note, say hi. We're always here to support you. All I want is to see all of the members of the community operating at best practices and being aware of the legal issues and being proactive about all of it. So whatever it is that you do, make sure you work with a lawyer that loves you, and have a wonderful week.